Yeah. Okay, we're live on both.
Nice. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And I know everybody's been on a lot of different webinars and IG Lives, Facebook Lives, but we're really honored to have John Kois with us today. And I've known John personally since, 2006 was my first Kois course. So he is one of my greatest mentors, and we're just honored to have him today. And we're not going to talk dentistry. We're just going to talk about some other things, right, Adamo?
Yeah, we wanted to. I think there's been a lot of dental talk on social media, Instagram in the last couple weeks, and that's been great. And sometimes it's nice to just take a break and talk about life and different things. And that's our goal for today. So, John, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an honor for both of us, as you know. So we appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, let me say, it's always great to be with both of you, and I'm happy to do this, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right, so
Start from the beginning, huh?
What's that?
Start from the beginning.
Yeah, that's what we'd like to know. Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you were born and raised, siblings, family, stuff like that?
Sure. I didn't think it would be that interesting for folks, but it is what it is. Actually, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. To give people a visual, I lived about 40 blocks from the opening scene in the movie Grease, where John Travolta is strutting down the street under the subway carrying a paint can. That was right near my neighborhood, so you get an idea where I came from, so you could picture that. I actually lived in a fourplex. My parents were divorced as I began high school. So I lived with my mother and twin brothers at the time.
I know you had twin
brothers.
brothers.
My twin brothers still live out in Long Island. So that was a pretty cool thing. The other thing I might add is I had two things that might be of note in my time in Brooklyn. One was my first car was actually a 1957 VW Beetle. If any of you understand VW Beetles, mine was the one with the small, really back oval window, and that's what it was known for. It actually had no gas gauge and no reverse.
What?
So when I would park in the parking space, if I needed to back up, I'd open the door, stick my foot out, and push the car back, and then be able to go and forward. So I only looked for parking spaces that I could drive out and forward. My first job actually was in Midtown Manhattan. I was a delivery boy delivering lunch orders to businesses all around the area within about a few block radius. I thought, to relate maybe to younger people that are listening to this, I think if it existed today, it would be called Uber Feets. Because I didn't drive. I ran the orders everywhere, and that was my first job.
How old were you, John?
I was 16, 17 years old.
So
just when it became legal to work.
So you were running around to deliver things. Were you?
Yeah, I'd take a train to New York City, and then I would work usually there from 10 to 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
So did you participate in athletics or sports growing up, since you were running around and delivering everything?
Actually, I did. And I know people laugh knowing your response, Amanda.
I know the answer to this, but I think no.
I actually was here's the funny part, captain of my gymnastics team. You wouldn't probably know it today, but remember back then, over 50 years ago, gymnastics was a lot simpler than the Simone Biles gymnastics that people see today. So, but I worked side horse and parallel bars. Actually, what's interesting of note is that's where I really met my wife, Karen. She was the manager of the gymnastics team. And then I was also on the tennis team. So that was my sports option at that time.
I remember she said that you caught her eye.
Is that what she said?
No, what she said, it's not bad. She said he had a really cute butt. That's what she said.
I've heard that one. Well, those gymnastics, those pants, they do a lot of good things for you, right? They've come back as yoga pants like today now, just about.
But I want everyone.
Actually, it was gymnastics that I tried because my parents were divorced. We didn't have enough money, so I tried to get a gymnastics scholarship for college, but that didn't work out. So I wound up staying in New York, and that's where I went to college. In fact, I was the first person in my family to ever go to college. So it was an interesting background.
I'm assuming there's no chance at any of the future symposiums to get you to do a parallel bar routine or something like that.
That's probably correct.
I do see when you say, when I first learned that you were a gymnast and really serious about it, I mean, I do see the posture, the way you stand, and you're very straight, and I can kind of picture it, you know?
Good, because most people can't.
Well, thank God for the world of dentistry that you didn't become a professional.
Yes, absolutely.
And John, you said you stayed in New York because you did not get a scholarship to play.
Correct.
Gymnastics. So
I went to Brooklyn College.
Brooklyn College undergrad.
Yep.
And then following, your dental career started how? From delivering Uber feats to dentistry, how did that happen?
Yeah, that's, I've been asked that question many, many times. I don't have a significant event that drove me to dental school. When I was in college, and, we had the family pressures, the dynamics of my father not being around, those kinds of things. I was trying to decide on three options. Believe it or not, one option early on is I did want to be a teacher, as a career as a teacher.
School teacher.
Full teacher. The other was computers. At the time, the way I paid my support system for college, I worked for a subsidiary of IBM as a systems analyst, but those are back in the days of key punch cards and a very different computer world back then. But I was really taken by computers. And then obviously I didn't choose those two. The third one was dentistry. And actually, as a matter of fact, when I chose dentistry and started dental school, I wasn't sure I made the right choice. I chose dentistry for the typical reasons people talk about. I wanted to be in medicine, but do things with my hands, those kinds of things. But it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I went through a little turmoil in the first year of school.
And what year was that, John, that you started dental school?
That was back in 1973.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the irony right now, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for somebody who had three options, one being a teacher, and you now have the most prominent dental educating center in the world. Number two, computers fascinated you back when who knew computers were going to do anything that we do, and you and the center are always on the highest end of technology. And the bottom of the barrel was dentistry, and you turned out to be a pretty damn good dentist too. So it's kind of crazy how all of that seemed to mesh into the exact place you are in life right now.
It's actually so true, Adamo. That's the way I think about it today, that I was able to wind up doing all three in some way.
And I just remember, I mean, at the symposium, I can't remember what year it is now, but when we went all digital and we got rid of the manuals and everything was on the iPad. I mean, that was just, what year was that, John?
Gee, that's probably 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, Amanda, when I go back, one of the focus on going digital back then was to reduce all the paper use in the manuals. Mm-hmm. At that time, I was spending about $150,000 a year on just paper manuals.
Yeah.
And I thought digital would save money.
Oh, no. Right.
We're millions of dollars into the digital now. Yeah. But we're happy we made the switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the learning value is incredible. I mean, for me, with the going digital and being able to, at a touch of your finger, go to a video, photo, articles. I mean, it was great. So, but I still kept all my manuals. Adamo, have you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have them, some in operatories on top of, in certain areas. Yeah, I definitely didn't get, I don't didn't get rid of anything. Larissa didn't either. So they're
Oh.
still
Yeah,
there.
I'm the same way.
I'm visual, so I can almost see like what a certain page looks like with the highlighted areas and everything.
Yes, people like me, we still have a little affinity for the feel of paper sometimes.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, Amanda, I'm wondering if in the future, if like we ever have this conversation with somebody that looks up to us at some point, will they figure out how a garbage man related into my becoming a dentist, and did it all tie together?
It's okay. It's okay.
Knowing you, Adamo, you'll find parallels there, some strong.
So talking about, we're talking about, I was just saying visual, John, how would, funny question, how would you rate your memory?
I feel, people have asked me that question too. I feel like I have a selective memory, especially about teeth.
Yeah.
No, when I have a conversation, I'd have a conversation with my graduate students about the cases they were working on over the phone, and they would tell me about a certain tooth, number 30, that they were prepping, that they had this problem. I say, no, it's 19. It's the one on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So I would remember things like that, like they were my own cases. And so I feel like for dental things, I have a pretty good memory. My wife will tell you for other things, I have a selective memory.
I like it. I've always been amazed by the things that you remember. And when I first met John, I was pregnant with my second, I think, and unemployed, building my practice, and my husband.
Actually, also in the beginning, I don't think I ever knew you for a long time when you weren't pregnant.
No, I was pregnant the whole time I went to the center. Yeah. I graduated in 3.5 years, and the whole time I was pregnant.
Pretty much, right? Yeah.
I just remember the first time it stood out to me, your memories, because I maybe spoke to you in between break one time and told you the story, because you said, where's your practice, this and that. And I told you that, I didn't have a practice. I didn't have a job. My husband quit his job, and talking about eating lunch on the back of a pickup truck, pregnant. And I saw you, I don't know, 6 months, a year later, and you asked me, you said, you still having lunches on the back of your pickup truck. And
I actually still remember that.
I just couldn't believe it. So, but I'm just one person, and I have lots of people that have told me the same story about your memory. So that's why I wanted to throw in that question.
Yeah, he amazed me the first time. I remember like it was yesterday, my first time at the Koi Center. It was right before the AACD in Hawaii, 2000, I believe it was 8. And I went from Seattle, stopped in LA to see my relatives, and then I went to Hawaii, and I introduced myself and talked about my soccer past. And
I remember that. Bodybuilding, soccer.
And what got me the most was you had brought up accreditation and asked if anybody was doing it. And I raised my hand and I said, well, I'm going to take my written exam. And 1 year to the date was my second course. I didn't do another one for a year. And he remembered soccer, bodybuilding. And as he started talking about, I don't remember what subject, accreditation came up, and he looked at me and he goes, oh, you started accreditation, didn't you? And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you said to me, did you do any cases? I said, yeah, I did 3. How did you do? I passed. Put him on a jump drive. I want to see him. And I was like, oh no, this is not going to go good. And it went well, actually, very well. You talked me into, guided me to my first published article ever with one of my accreditation cases in Compendium.
You both have done some pretty amazing things. I'm very proud of both of you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. You're an amazing mentor, that is for sure. So what question shall we ask next, Adamo?
Well, a couple of these about wanting to be an educator kind of got tied into thing, but one on here that I'm a little curious about, you said you didn't really think you made the right choice with dentistry in the beginning, and I know you graduated imP.R.E.S, correct?
Yes.
Along that road, did you ever think of any other specialty? Did anything get you in school and say, you wanted to do endo for 1.5 years, or you thought of anything else?
Well, that's an interesting road. Let me try to take you back a little bit. I actually went for dental school. I went to the University of Pennsylvania, and At that time, I was on a financial scholarship, which I subsequently lost when I got married. It was after my freshman year. And so that, again, I was back in financial concerns. And that's why during dental school, my third year, I applied for an Air Force scholarship. And it was the Air Force scholarship that helped me stay in dental school because they paid for my last year in dental school and a small stipend. And my wife and I were able to complete my education. And all I did was my obligation at that time to the Air Force, which was an amazing opportunity, which maybe I'll come back to in a minute. But, you know, at the University of Pennsylvania, two people were extremely significant to me in my life. And I think it's those two people that actually changed the trajectory of my career. And so I'd like to take the moment to acknowledge them. I certainly acknowledge them from a way that they've helped my career. I cite their literature and things like that, but it's actually more than that. Those two people were Morton Amsterdam and D. Walter Cohen. You know, there was something about them. I just wanted to be like them for everything. It was just something that I saw in them was a huge motivator for me.
Were they professors, John? Like you had direct?
Yeah, I took my senior dental year, 7 students were with Morty. And at that time, Walter was the dean of the university. So I didn't really have maybe an emotional relationship with them. I wasn't close to them at that time in any way. I was just a student.
Right.
But the way they carried themselves, the way that I looked up to them, they to me would represent almost like you would call a dental father, if you will, someone that could have some parental influence. And I think that what they did is they really inspired me to be interested in two things: more education and delivering that education, and the power of a role model that they didn't even realize they were, because I never at that time had discussions to them. It was years later that I actually got much closer. But the role model view is what we use as the mentor name maybe today in that way. But to me, they were absolutely a giant. So I think they became part of my DNA, and they influenced my DNA, and maybe you'd call that today epigenetics, because I didn't think I had that in me. Yeah. But that relationship, even though it was distant, it was incredibly significant. And that's why, because Morty was into imP.R.E.S, that's the only thing I thought about. I didn't think of anything else. So that to me tied so many things about dentistry together.
Yeah, because that was a question that a lot of people asked, is who was or who is the most, the person that inspires you the most? So you would say those two.
Without a doubt, because they were at the beginning, right? So when you look at somebody that was at the beginning of the curve, they were there at the beginning. Then oddly enough, in dental school, when I got the Air Force scholarship, I was stationed at Langley, Virginia for 3 years, and I did a general practice residency. And that was an opportunity to then further apply for graduate training. And the graduate training, I was the only one at that time ever selected by the Air Force to go outside the Air Force for training. And there's a whole story behind that, but I came out to the University of Washington here for imP.R.E.S, which was only one of 3 schools at the time that had dual specialty. And at that time, it was Ralph Eudalis that was the chairman of that program. And there was another giant in the field at that time in periopprosthodontics. And for me, it was a way to blend East Coast and West Coast education. And one of the things that we don't realize today is the way we learn, it occurs almost at the speed of thought with the internet. But back then, this is really was why meetings were very powerful. It was when people could come together from different parts of the world and exchange information. So when I went to the University of Pennsylvania, it was the first time that I could break out of an East Coast mentality, so to speak, and start to learn from people that had a West Coast mentality, which was totally, well, not totally, but many times very different, to start to blend something that was maybe an outgrowth of both of those philosophies put together. So to me, that was an incredible time to nurture my thoughts and begin my career.
Yeah. But at what point though, in your journey of being in dental school, were you, I mean, did you excel more than your classmates? Did you see things differently? Like where did you start to realize and have self-actualization that you may be thinking differently than other people?
Well, at the time of dental school, you have to realize I'm not really looking at myself compared to other people. I was just trying to do the best that I could. I know that many of my classmates would say things that I was excelling in dental school and things like that, but I didn't actually see it when I was a dental student. I was just trying to do the best that I could. And, you know, it reminds me, Adamo, when you talk about yourself on the stage, you know, your passion for growth and your relentless pursuit of becoming better at whatever it takes. I kind of relate to that because I feel that I started that, but that didn't happen until probably after this, during the second year when we started to get into the clinic, when I started to take the science part and relate it to the implementation and the doing part. It was like I was on fire. I was a new person from there on out. So that's when I really started to get passionate about dentistry. And for me to be passionate about something, you have to be good at it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, back then we had the mentality that to be good at something, you had to be born with skills. And we know talent is overrated, and that's not true. So we know now you can force yourself to be good. And if you really want to be good, you just have to work hard. And I know that both of you epitomize that. That's where you are today. And I think back in the origins of my career, that's where that all started.
Thank you. Next.
Well,
there's plenty good ones. I think we should, in between, I think we should do some funny ones. Because John's a funny guy. A lot of people don't know, but John's.
You know, that's funny you mentioned that, Amanda, because that's what my wife tells me. I'm funny.
He might be a little funnier, but you're funny.
Oh
no, but people don't know the funny side. I don't let it out too easy. Yeah. Or sometimes I am trying to be funny and people don't realize that I'm trying to be funny, right, and they still don't laugh. So
you kind of have this like straight.
I do. It's a blessing and a curse.
One of the funniest interactions I saw ever was you and Dean at dinner after the course at the center. Yeah. I mean, you two did not stop at each other. It was.
But that's the way we are all the time.
I love it.
You know, that's just natural stuff. You know, everybody has a personal side, and you know, not everybody sees everything about you because they don't participate in your life in all the different aspects of your life. You know, the way you relate to your family and the way you relate to friends. And, you know, those are obviously a bit different than the way we relate personally. And you only see a part of everybody. You don't see the total of everybody. And so, yes, I think part of me is funny. That's what I would say.
And I mean, and that's.
In fact, I'll tell you, I grew up in quite a rough neighborhood. You know, my high school newspaper had its own obituary column in it, so you get some idea where I'm coming from.
Oh, Brooklyn.
Well, one of the things that I really admire about you, John, aside from the dentistry and the education, is just the family man that you are. I mean, it's very evident how close you are with your wife, Karen, Johnny, Dean, and to see how family is a priority in your life, I think is amazing. And I think it's nice that you do share that with participants. I mean, when we come to the course and we go on the boat and we get to meet everybody, it's really nice.
I really appreciate that. And you know, Amanda, that can't be easy for you either. You know, we all work hard and we make sacrifices, and to stay close to your family, it's not easy. You have to work at that. And, you know, just trying to do basic things about being present when you're with your family, because everybody wants to know how I balance my time. I can't say my time is balanced, but I can tell you, at least when I'm with my family, I'm with my family, because that's important to me. And I work very hard to create some boundaries between your work life and your family life and your spiritual life and all the other pieces that you do. You do need some boundaries, and when I'm in that mode, I'm in that mode, and I stay there. That's the idea. So, you know, I had a psychologist once tell me, because, you know, it's really hard for us when we work so much and go to meetings and do things relating to your children. You certainly don't want to feel like you're missing anything when they grow up. And today it's a lot easier because you could FaceTime and video. And I think what people have to remember, just because you can watch those things, it doesn't mean that they have an impact unless you can relate to those things. In other words, what your kids really want is not just that you looked at those things, but that you were generally interested in looking at those things. So, you know, when I would come home, it wasn't just, I'm sorry I was away. It was things like, I know you had a wrestling match. Tell me about it. How did it go? I mean, that's that whole piece of being interested in other people. And I've made it a point of trying to do that, to be present with people and actually have an interaction that I think is meaningful. And that's how I manage with my family as well.
Yeah. Well, it shows, you know, I love seeing the family whenever we go, and it's what's neat. I mean, I know with my children, having 4 kids, how different they are, is how different Johnny and Dean are too, you know, just to see.
Well, you know, there's a double-edged sword when your family is very close, because they're also your biggest critics. and they're not afraid to tell you when something's not right or you don't look right. I can't tell you how much abuse I've taken over the years for my fanny pack. But
you were saving that question. I was saving
that question. I wear my fanny pack, and I'm telling you, that fanny pack is coming back in style. And I'm rocking a fanny pack all the time.
I got to interrupt you, because the question I was going to have is just say, true or false, do you own a fanny pack? But you just outed yourself. So for those out there that don't know, if John is not behind the podium, if he's traveling, walking around anywhere, he's got a fanny pack on.
Well, why don't you ask the $10 million question? Is he currently wearing a fanny pack?
No, he doesn't wear it when he's just sitting in
no, the fanny stays on me unless I'm in 2 places, at work or in my home, or the fanny stays on. If I go outside, the fanny goes on. It stays with me.
And I may or may not have a video of the fanny if John would let me play it. But the $1 million question is, what do you keep in your fanny pack?
Oh, that's a coveted secret. I don't divulge, because that fanny pack is like my office away from home. But I can tell you, you know, when we go to events with the kids, I've been known to put corn dogs in there. I've been known to put food in there for the kids. That fanny is very versatile. It has all kinds of things.
And it's not, I mean, I know, like John said, the fanny pack's coming back into style, like you see Gucci and Louis Vuitton, but I mean, John just has like the old school, like thick black leather fanny, and it's like stuffed all the way like to the max.
It's a very strategic choice in fannies.
It sounds like he has the Yeti of fanny packs because he can put hot dogs and maybe a cold beverage in there. I mean,
you know, that's a perfect description of my fanny pack. It's not fancy, but it's definitely durable and practical.
And if you know John, he's a systems man. So John, tell him what you do in case one fanny pack breaks. What's your backup plan?
Oh, I have a backup. I have identical fannies lined up ready to go at a moment's notice. I'm very particular. We don't need to go here because this could take a long time. I could give you a whole education on fanny pack.
Well, I think we can, at the end of this whole live, I can maybe do a quick 5-second fanny pack video for you guys.
Oh, I love it.
You've seen it, John. It's no surprise. It's the one I did at Symposium.
No, I know. I can't wait. I just can't wait.
I have a question actually that ties into the last topic you were talking about lecturing and being away from the family and so on and so forth. And, you know, when Amanda and I first got together and decided that we were going to do something together and started imP.R.E.S, her first thing was, besides the love of education that we have and our mentors and all that, was, I don't want to be away from home anymore. And being, you know, before now and me currently still, you know, last year I was probably on the road 40 weekends. And I'm sure in the beginning of your career to get to the level that you are now, you did the same. You traveled, no matter where it was, you took it.
50 times a year, some years.
Right? So when did the light switch go off and you say, wow, you know what? I'm done with the road and I have a vision for the center. I have a vision of doing something where my home and my family is. I'm very curious about that because I wonder if it was gradual or you thought about it in the beginning of your career that maybe one day this would be a dream, or you knew and said, you know what? Enough of the planes. This is what I want and this is what I'm going to build.
I don't know. To me, actually, it wasn't the planes that was the major focus in what I'm doing now. Although I know people talk about, you know, it's tiring being on the road, that you, as you well know. But my vision for education was different. It was a vision that I felt I couldn't accomplish easily on the road, especially back then with slide projectors and one-day courses or hour courses at dinner meetings. I felt that the education was more entertainment than it was education, and people would look for a couple pearls, and it really wasn't transformative. It was only transactional. Mm-hmm. And after a while, that was not gratifying enough for me. And you realize that part of having a center or a place is being able to have relationships with people like you, which you don't get to do on the road if you keep going to different places, because the audience is different. It allows your material to get a little bit stagnant, because you could use the same material and show it to people that have never seen it before. Mm-hmm. And it had impact. Today, you can't do that. Your material is changing every time. You never do the same course twice. So the whole idea of education back then, I wasn't so thrilled about. So for me, being able to do something that combined a hands-on opportunity with an educational experience was what was more compelling before that even existed as it does today, and you well do. And I think, you know, one of the things that people don't realize, when I finished dental school, which is now about 43 years ago, you know, I had my Air Force career, and they allowed me to do my specialty training in imP.R.E.S. That's how I came out here to the University of Washington. And then I went back to practice when I finished my Air Force career of 9 years, which was great, by the way. I'd love to have a chance sometimes to talk about the Air Force, but I think for me, it was a time to have incredible camaraderie, incredible learning, incredible people skills. It was a time that I could develop as a dentist without the business pressures, which to me, I always look back on very fondly today. When I came out here in Washington, I started my practice, as I said, and I have 2 employees today in my practice, Gail, who's been with me since the beginning of my practice, and Judy, which came shortly after. Those are my very loyal staff that I still work with today, and I'm very proud of that piece. But what happened was, in that office, a small wing was built that would house 2 operatories and a small conference center. No, I shouldn't call it a conference center, a room with a table, pardon me, in Fife, a room for 14 people with slide projectors and a screen. And I think, by the way, there's an interesting story. Back then, the teaching center wasn't called the COIS Center. It was called Creating Restorative Excellence. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget Sam Romano, a dentist, a friend of mine from back east, came to me one morning of a course and he said, you know, why do you call this Creating Restorative Excellence, CRE? It's awkward. He said, what do you mean? He said, well, my staff asked me, where am I going? And for me to tell them I'm going to Creating Restorative Excellence, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't make sense. It needs to be a place. You need to call it the COIS, something with your name on it. It has to be a place. Mm-hmm. And I felt that was very pretentious back then, and I really didn't want to do that. So, but I thought about what Sam had told me, and it was significant enough, and that's where the COIS Center finally got the name, but it wasn't originally started as the COIS Center. So we've actually been in existence since 1994. Yeah. We're in our 26th year. We had our 20th year symposium. Those are only for graduates a year or so ago. And so we've been around quite some time, and I'm very proud of that whole piece, right? So that's where that came from.
I remember having a chat with Dino Mantis. We were talking about bodybuilding, and Dino said, man, I was one of the originals. I used to go to John's office in his conference room, and he used to make Myoplex shakes in his blender. And I was like, wait a minute, what?
It's true. When that wasn't popular, I used to carry a blender with me on lecture tours and mix it in the ice bucket in the rooms.
I love it. I love it.
So how long did you have Fife as sort of the mini teaching center before the center became what it is today?
So the evolution, and if I go back for a minute, you know, in my first duty station at Langley in Virginia was actually not only for my wife, Karen, and I. It was the first time we really, during our married life, became free from school. During that time is when my twin boys were born. That's John and Dean, that people know of today because they're very involved in the business. Johnny's gone on to get his MBA at the University of Washington. He's the CEO here of the company. And Dean went to dental school at Nova, and then went on to PROS at University of Washington and his implant fellowship degree at NYU. And so we've started to evolve quite a family business here, but the COIS Center, under the name it's on now, started in 2003. And so we've been 17 years in the location that people know of today, right here on Lake Union in Seattle. But this is the location for the last 17 years.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that you call them the original 20, like the
originals.
The originals, the dentists that were with John from the very beginning at Fife are still with John.
Yes. Or they're retired from practice. There's a couple now that are retired.
Right.
But yes, if they're still in practice, the originals still come to the center.
I love that. I just think that speaks volume. And what's really neat is on John's boat, I remember one time I was sitting with Karen going through photo albums that they had, and John has these photo albums of the original people way back when, just, you know, gathered around the office or on a boat trip together or whatever. And and I came on much later, but I know all these originals. And so Mark Benavides is one of them. And he has always said, much like you said about Morty Amsterdam being this parental figure in a way, he said, I have two dads. I have my biological dad, and then I have my dental dad. And I think we all feel that way.
And I'm proud to have that title, by the way. That's very meaningful to me.
Yeah, I got about a half a dozen messages when I posted the flyer about this, and the comments were, I'll wake up at any time to watch Dental Dad. And I chuckled every time because, I mean, that we all feel, I agree with Amanda, we feel the same.
Well, it's hard for people.
I don't want this to get too emotional, so be
I know. John's a crier too. We know Adamo's a crier, but John is too. And I certainly am. So let's not all cry at the same time. But, you know, for my friends, my non-dental friends, because I post stuff about the COIS Center, they know I go out there, or COIS this, COIS that, and they don't get it, you know? Like, they're like, who's COIS? He's just like this super dentist, or what is it? You know, and it's so hard to explain to someone. Well, I said, well, this is where I did my training, or this is where I've gone. But it is special. It is a special tribe that we have, and I'm so proud to be a part of it.
You know, there's an interesting story behind maybe why it has the feeling that maybe you felt when you came out here, and it actually came from Morton Amsterdam back again and D. Walter Cohn. They came out when I first opened the center. Out here, they wanted to see it and look at the facility and so on. Because remember, a facility is just a facility. It's a desk, and
right.
Anybody can have a desk and a pretty room.
Right.
But they sat in the back, and for the first hour and a half, and after the first 90 minutes, D. Walter came up to me, and he said to me, John, this isn't continuing education. This is, and at first I was almost disappointed. I didn't know what he was about to say. He said, this is something different here. He said, this is a graduate program for practicing dentists.
Right.
You have a curriculum. You have material that is very cohesive. That isn't the way continuing education is done outside of dental school. So outside of dental school or graduate school, that doesn't exist. And so that is what inspired me more to build a curriculum. And we've stayed close to our core. And when we're not the experts in our core philosophy, we bring in people like both of you to do your composite artistry and to do the things that you do that nobody does better than that, because I can't do that. So we know when we're not the best at something, and we either have people go there to learn those things, or at least you could see where those things could fit within the scope of practice, no matter what you do. And you're right, because none of us are smarter than all of us, and we all have something that we can add. And that's what I've been proud of being able to do. There've been some fantastic people that have come through the center, and there's not a person that's come through the center that I'm not proud of in some way.
Yeah. I think what stood out for me, because I know, like, Adamo, you've gone through a lot of different curriculums prior to coming to the center, right?
Yeah.
Was that I came not really knowing what to expect. I didn't really know much about the center. I didn't know, John, much about you, to be honest. And so I went, and I went straight to the occlusion course, because I'm like, I want to see what this guy has to say about occlusion. And what struck me the most was, number one, I said, is he going to talk the whole time? Like, no one else is going to, like, I've never been to a curriculum where the same person has taught me from start to finish the entire length of the course. And when I say the entire length, for those of you who haven't been to the center, we start at 7 a.m. And if it's a 3-day course, we go till 5. If it's a 5-day course, we go till 6. But John usually even keeps going. He actually could keep going all night. You actually have to kind of stretch and get up and down and kind of show him that we need a break, because he will, I mean, talk about passion. I don't know how you do it. I really don't.
Well, I'll tell you, Amanda, what I think happens here, people that come here like yourselves are also very passionate and motivated. And when you're trying to work with people that are passionate and motivated, it's actually easy. It's not hard. It's, it's like your staff. When someone on your staff is motivated on their own to help you, there's no challenge there. It's when you're trying to push your staff along or drag them along or wherever the environment, if we're not all in this together, it's really a problem. And I often tell people, the dentists that come to the center, most of them are from small towns.
Yes.
They say things like, my patients are my friends, family, like Adamo was talking about before we went live with his dad. My patients are my friends. I see them in the grocery store. And when I see them, I want to be proud of what I've done. And the center was built on that common thread. And we've just continued with that, because I often tell people, I don't care if you come in my operatory on your own Learjet or rode in on your own bicycle, you deserve the same respect and dignity as anyone else. So once you're in the chair, you're in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else matters.
Love it.
Yeah, I think the way you answered that and the way that your mentor described the center, I've always had a hard time answering people because we ask all the time, why COIS? Why COIS? And listen, I've gone to other places before that I even knew the COIS Center existed, and it was outstanding education. And what I would explain to them is it was very focused on one thing. So if it was an occlusion center that I went to, man, I got the education was amazing. Don't get me wrong, but it was just that. And if I wanted composite or implants, I had to go somewhere else. And now you just gave the perfect way to explain it. I mean, it is a post-grad training curriculum for a graduating dentist, which is an easy way for me now to answer people because, listen, let's call a spade. And I'm not trying to get emotional, but there's two reasons we go to the center. We go to the center because of the education, and we go to the center because of you. And I think that's what I tell people. I know that's what Amanda tells people. And that to me really helped me now, because I get a ton of messages every day. Where should I go and why? And
the why is important.
The why was always like, I don't know how to explain it. It just, when I got there, I felt like I belonged. I felt like a part of it. Even from my first class to the minute I walked off stage at the symposium, I always felt like I was part of a huge, gigantic family that everybody respected each other.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I really appreciate that. I think the one thing that also is happening at the center is, certainly people see me, I'm the front person. I have the most exposure, certainly through the courses, but we also have a lot going on behind the scenes with our infrastructure. And, as I mentioned, Johnny is the CEO. My whole dean is also faculty. His twin brother, my son, Dean, faculty, also taking more responsibility here at the center, integrating into more courses. He has his own private practice, but similar to what you guys are both doing, he's in it. I mean, he is full-time in it. His family, between his practice and teaching, it's a busy life. All our wives are involved in some way in the center. And so we feel like I get contributions from family. And also we have some extended faculty now beyond my family that I have incredible respect for. Betsy Bakeman is an integral part of the restorative perio program. Doug Thompson, wellness and periodontal medicine. Michael Sessman, also in occlusion, plus all our scientific advisors. So I now have the benefit of incredible people helping to support the center and drive it to a very integrated platform that continues to grow. And I hope that's important, because I want the center to have a legacy beyond me, not just from me. And so this is really important.
Mhm.
Well, that could lead to another question on the list, which was what are your plans, or what do you see personally for the future of the center?
Well, as I started to allude to, I think the future of the center is to expand the faculty a little bit. Because remember, we're being very careful. It isn't just a combination of courses. It has to have integration. That's why the reason both of you not only taught at the center when you came here is I'm really only interested in people that have gone to the center if they're giving a course, because without having a heritage of what the center is about, it's not really possible to put yourself in the center and relate to what the students are thinking about as you're up on the podium.
Mhm.
So I'm always looking to grow the faculty from within the students so that we could have the legacy continue. And we have a plan for that.
That's great. Well, let's do a little lighthearted question in between all these great answers. John, how many hours a night do you sleep?
Well, you know, up until this moment, because my schedule is a little different, not being able to go to work right now for obvious reasons, I get up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I still do that on the weekends. And I really like that quiet time. That's when I do some of my best work really early in the morning. I'm not good at night. Usually what I do is when I get home, I shut my brain off, because when I'm home, I'm home. So I try to do everything I can while I'm at the center. So for a while, I would say, Amanda, I would go to sleep by 10 for sure, wake up at 6. I try not to get less than 6 hours. Right now, I'm getting an extra cycle in, maybe 7.5, but that's what I typically sleep.
You're doing 90-minute cycles still?
Yes, yes. But those are natural, so it works easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we got on the air, we were chatting a little bit, and you talked about Symposium a little, and the fact that you read 400 articles so far. That being said,
For this symposium, because I go through with the staff 28 journals a month to contribute to all the courses, and then the key ones are presented, as you know, Adamo, in July. That symposium.
Now, that being said, do you have time for TV? And if you do, what's your favorite TV show?
Right now, my son got me a Netflix.
Which fun?
Which one?
Johnny. So I have a monthly subscription to Netflix, and my wife and I have looked at Netflix, and I usually just watch some action movies. And, you know, look, you'll know a lot about me when you know one of my favorite TV shows is Judge Judy. So
Oh boy.
I don't listen to really, I'm not always watching high-end educational things. It's maybe Judge Judy the most.
Now, I do know, okay, so what's your favorite singer or artist? Because I know you like music a lot.
Oh, if you go back historically, without a doubt, it's Billy Joel.
Yeah.
You know, his roots in Long Island, and the words of his song, I really relate to a lot of Billy Joel's music. And then beyond Billy Joel, I have quite a variety, even up and through hip hop and jazz. And I like lots of different kinds of music. But I would say if I had to pick one, in the beginning, it was Crosby, Stills, and Nash, before actually Neil Young joined them. But then when Neil Young joined, I accepted him as well. But I would say after Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, it would be all Billy Joel.
Okay, so true or false? American Bandstand came to your house.
Oh, you're not going there. Okay, it's true. It's true. American Bandstand came to my house to audition me for American Bandstand, and I was selected.
For?
It's true. American Bandstand but my father my father and mother at the time prohibited that to happen because that would have meant away from school. And so I often kid my family I could have been something on American Bandstand.
True or false, you have been rescued by the Coast Guard.
That's true. I was rescued by the Coast Guard when I was 9 years old in a boat explosion, right about 5 miles offshore from the parachute jump in Coney Island. I could see the parachute jump when the boat was in flames. And yes, my dad and I were the only two on the boat, and we were rescued by the Coast Guard. And then the boat sank.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Crazy time. And I am forever grateful of those first responders, because when they come and pluck you out of the water, you can only imagine how that feels. And I am forever grateful.
Mm-hmm. Good. All
And
right.
we've got about 5 minutes left on the countdown.
Well, we could keep going on Facebook. IG will time out.
Yeah.
How would you describe yourself, John, in 3 to 5 words, if you had to pick 3 or 5 adjectives to describe yourself?
I would say extremely, a very hard worker, very passionate about what I'm doing. You know, I had a slogan that would stay in my office for many years. I have the simplest of taste. I only want the best. So I'm always working very hard to achieve the best that I can personally be. So I'm driven in that regard. I feel like I'm very loyal and passionate to all the people that I love and hold dearly, my family especially. And I think I try to maintain a level of humility in my life. I prefer to talk about other people more than myself. So actually, this is difficult for me.
I know it is.
Yeah.
I know. And I think people were really interested in this, because when we posted that we weren't going to be talking about dentistry, I mean, it's that connectivity we were talking about before. People just want to know and to relate, and curious as to who you are, you know. So it's hard for us to be able to translate that to people who don't know you. So we wanted this opportunity to just kind of let people see, you know, the different sides of you, the funny, the serious, the passionate, all of it. So we thank you. Any other questions, Adamo, that you can think of that people are dying to hear about?
I mean, we went through a pretty good list we have here, so I don't know if I have.
I think the one thing I might want to add was, you did mention in the beginning maybe something about what's going on in the world and maybe moving forward. You know, obviously this question stems from the uncertainty that we all face during these unprecedented times. And I look at all the messages on television that we're all in this together. But, you know, behind the scenes, I feel like we're all still suffering individually. You know, we see a collective face, but that's not how we respond, because we're all still individual people. And so, you know, I have a lot of reservations about what that means. And some people are certainly way more unfortunate than maybe we are at this moment in time. So I feel for that. And I feel for all the dentists that are also thinking about coming back to practice, what that's going to look like, because at least we can't choose what's happened to us in the past, but we can certainly choose to figure out what we're going to do going forward. So at the center where I feel we could be the most helpful is to look into what we could do as a tribe moving forward. So I did put together a task force. So I want everybody to know that task force is in place, and you'll meet that task force because the results of the task force will come out in a webinar that we're going to do, a free live webinar that will happen maybe the beginning of May.
Yeah.
The task force was been tasked to look at three main areas. That would be input data collection, that would be facility management, and that would be operatory management. All the different things that might eventually change the way we practice, like input. You know, we're doing more things with cloud-based software like Oryx and teledentistry, those kinds of things. But the committee is looking at what we'll have to do that is being mandated by OSHA and WISHA. So we'll have a capsule of that. We'll look at what we think would be highly recommended. That's where products come involved. And you mentioned, Amanda, about surgically clean air and units like that that we could incorporate into our practice. And then what we think would be useful in practice, because each of these have a cost. And so with the mandates, we have to have some fiscal responsibility and do things that are logical. And some dentists, you can't just change your facility so easily.
No.
So we're taking a really hard look at this, and we have very responsible people that have no business relationships involved in this, looking at this. So we're really excited about what we can come up with to help the tribe in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thank you. We look forward to that. And you'll be posting that, I guess, on the
Yes, Johnny will come up with how we'll put that together, and the details will be forthcoming for sure.
All right.
Amazing.
Well, John, thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you on. Do we cut off yet?
Well, I restarted the live. We're fine,
Oh,
but
okay, good. Oh, we're good. Okay.
Oh, it's hard. We went an hour already.
yeah.
It went pretty fast, at least from my point of view. So, and good, you didn't have to show the Fanny video. I think we'll keep people in suspense.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we'll save it for another one.
We'll save it for another time. But yeah, John, we can't thank you enough for taking the time. You know how much we both look up to you and respect you, and you've been pivotal in both of our careers. And I don't think either one of us would be at any level of success as we are without your guidance and your support and your mentorship. So we thank you.
I appreciate the words, and believe me, I enjoyed the opportunity to be with both of you. So thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Bye now.